What's up, gamers? I wasn't expecting to make this many videos this week, but they keep giving us more stuff, which means that I have more stuff that I get to talk about. Also, I just got a haircut, looking fly. Anyway, let's go ahead and get right on into it because they gave us a lot of stuff, and one of several of them are like okay. One of them is really interesting, so let's go ahead and get right on into it. They gave us a bunch of new stuff. We're getting a couple new detachments soon. I will be doing roundtables for those. Um, yeah, I don't know. They keep giving us more stuff. It's going to be really interesting. Okay, first one I want to talk about. We're not going to be doing them in order because there is one of them that is way more interesting than all three of the other ones. The first one is Commissar Graves in. Did they give this thing a name? Uh, the modified Centaur RSV Vigilance. So Vigilance is the name of the car. First, we got Girl Boss in her car. We have Commissar Graves, and this one is kind of interesting. Let's go ahead and go through the data sheet real quick, and then of course we will be giving thoughts and a couple of different things we need to know about it. So of course, this is an interesting car. So it's a Move 12, Toughness 8, 3 up, 4 up Invul, which is interesting, 12 wounds, 6 up leadership, and OC 5. That's a lot of OC. That is, again, like the OC of a Land Raider, OC of, I think, all of the Greater Demons, most of the Greater Demons. It's the OC of a tank. It is a lot of OC all in one vehicle, which is kind of interesting. The other thing is this 4 up Invul save with 12 wounds means that it is surprisingly difficult to shift and a lot of OC to just put out in the open. So that's kind of interesting. Depending on how many points Vigilance and Commissar Graves cost, this could be relatively interesting for its body alone. However, it does have a couple of guns as well. It's got the Chiron Gatling Cannon, which is 24 inches, 12 shots at 501. It's okay. We have a Perfectus Heavy Stubber, which is rapid fire 3, 36 inches, 3 shots, but realistically like 6 shots most of the time, also at 501. So this is 6, so this is like 18 shots at 501 on 3s. It's like, you know, it's like a Dorn's Heavy Stubbers. It is what it is. It's not bad. Then it's got melee weapons as well. The main one, of course, is Power Sword and Manus Mortis, which I'm guessing is the Fist. So that's cool. And it has Lance because of reasons. It is 5 attacks on 2s at 622 Lance, so it's it's not bad. It's a little bit of melee. Forcer Crew and Armored Hull give you an additional 13 attacks on 4s at whatever AP0 damage 1. So it's like, you know, it's a bunch of kind of nothing burger attacks that are just like all okay. It's you mostly care about the defensive stats way more than you care about the offensive output of this. However, the war gear ability is rather interesting. The Aquilin Prow, of course, you got the giant, like, eagle on the front of the car. Each time this unit ends a charge move, you can select one enemy unit within engagement range, then roll a d6. On a 2-up, they suffer d3 mortal wounds. On a 4 through 5, they suffer 3. And on a 6, they suffer d3 plus 3. So it's, it's like a Nork headbutt. This is not the first time we've seen this kind of thing. This is not the first time we've seen charge mortals in general. It's like a not insignificant amount of charge mortals. So on average, you're probably going to do, you're most likely going to do 2 to 3 mortal wounds, and then if you tank shock as well at toughness 8, you're probably doing like another 2 to 3. So like realistically, this is doing a total of like 4 to 6 mortal wounds on the charge, which is not a bad number. It's not a bad number at all. You can just kind of ram it into things. It's gonna be okay. They utilize D3, Voice of Command. Notably, there's nothing up here that allows you to extend the range, so it is just going to be a 6-inch order range, which is not great, but it is what it is. It is worth noting that on the Voice of Command, this officer can issue 1 order to regiment or squadron, which is, nice that we have access to more, and of course in Grizzled this goes up to 2. However, the officer can only issue Move, 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 Duty and Honor, and Fixed Bayonets. So, they're all okay. The fact that you have move, move, move here is actually relatively important, though, for the abilities that we're going to get into. So the first one is Mechanized Spearhead, and this alone makes Mechanized Assault like worth another look. I don't know if it's going to be super good, but it is more interesting. In your movement phase, each time a friendly Astromilitarum regiment unit disembarks from a transport within 6 inches of this model, after the unit has been set up, this model can issue 1 order to that regiment unit, regardless of how many orders this model has already issued this turn. So, if you have a bunch of transports right next to Commissar Graves in the car, if you have G girl here, and then you have like another car. You get guys out, you order them, tell them move, 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 and then instead of moving 6, they move 9 inches. And if you have another car and you have more friends, tell them move, move, move. They go 9 inches, which is nice, because it means that out of any car that is next to Commissar Graves, you can make the guys disembark and move a total of 12 inches. And then you can advance and then potentially move up to 18 inches. And then, it gets weirder after that. But anyway, bigger thing with this whole thing is some of you might be saying, wait a second, I've been doing that anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to the next slide. One of the big things about this is I've seen lots of players get this wrong. I've had lots of opponents ask me about this. Normally, if you have a transport here and you get guys out, they will get out 3 inches, right? And then they will move an additional 6 inches and maybe they can advance. I have a lot of people think that they see this transport and they're like, oh, so you're going to get out and then give yourself an order and then move 9 inches. But this is not something we can normally do due to the timing and all of the abilities for giving orders. The first one is an office or voice of command. You can issue orders in your command phase or at the end of a phase. So very importantly, oh, that got cut off. Neat. Very importantly, you cannot do this normally. This is not a thing we can normally do. You're only ever normally going 9 inches outside of a transport. However, with this new mechanized spearhead rule, we can now move, we can get out 3, and then we can move an additional 9, and then we can advance an additional d6, and then we can use the stratagem, because we did an advanced, not a normal move, to move, I think we can move an additional d6. So overall, it's 12 plus 2d6, which is, a lot of inches. It's going to be an average of 19 inches of movement out of a car, which is a lot. You can't shoot after it, I think. Is there a way? I don't think there's a way to shoot after that, unless there's like some new stuff that we get assault somewhere. But it's interesting. Just being able to move 12 inches out of a car can be some really big breakpoints where we can cycle guys through the car and then move relatively quickly. And then normally, if you guys have been watching my videos for a long time, you know that I am not a big fan of the Castellan being attached to Kazarkin. This makes that interesting, right? Because the Castellan with the Kazarkin, one of the issues was that you lost a lot of movement because you didn't get the scout 6 inches, but in mechanized assault, you can now potentially use that in order to get out of the car, move 12 inches, and then have double order sustained Kazarkin, which are not quite as good as Scions, but, definitely in the same category of just, we're going to go kill something real. So Commissar Graves just existing makes Cast on Kazarkin in mechanized more interesting. Is it more interesting elsewhere? Not really. They're not, like, the most interesting thing there. The other one is Brutal Disciplinarian. Once per turn at the start of any phase, you can select one blah blah. That is Battle Shocked and within 24 inches and visible to this model. If you do, one model in the unit is destroyed. That unit is no longer Battle Shocked. So the fun thing about this, of course, is it is 24 inches, which is the range of the Gatling cannon. So you can kind of imagine that whenever you see someone running, you go bat 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 bat, and mow them down, and then everybody else is like, okay, well we're fine. This is okay. We don't, this is just an additional rule that this datasheet has. The mechanized spearhead is by far the most interesting part of this datasheet, and then this is fun, right? Depending on how many points this costs, if this is, a 2-digit point cost, if it's like less than 100, you'll probably start seeing this played more, but if this is more than 100, I'm not sure how much play it'll actually receive. It's interesting. I would recommend that you go test this out. Yeah, I would go recommend, if you just want to do this now, just go test this out, assume it's 100 points, and, designate, a Chimera or something to be this, and let me know how it goes. I think again, it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but it does breathe a little bit more life into Mech Assault. Okay, moving on. We have the Centaur RSV. So this is one of the other new data sheets that we got. It is a new transport, and let's go ahead and go through it. Movement 12, T7. Ugh, this is, getting wounded by plasmas on 3s is not a lot. 3-up save, so, this thing will just die, right? It is not durable, basically, at all. It's got 10 wounds, which is you know, 5 fail plasma saves. Leadership 7, OC2. Pretty normal stuff overall for a transport. It is a little bit faster, and it is definitely less durable. The fact that you're a toughness 7 does mean that even things like bolters will be doing like notable chip damage to you. So that is a thing to keep in mind. The defensive profile is okay. All right, looking at the ranged weapons, you only have one. You have a heavy stubber, it's rapid fire 3, and it's a stubber. Normal stuff. For melee weapons, you have an armored hull, which is a close combat weapon, melee, 3 attacks, normal transport attacks, right? Nothing really exciting here. The rules are kind of interesting. So instead of going, let's go ahead and take a look up here at the transport first. It is a transport capacity of 12 Astromilitarum infantry models. Ogren take up the space of 3, and it can't transport artillery. Pretty normal stuff for transports. And then the rule, as we come down here, well, 1 or more units are embarked within this model. Unless this model is battle shock, add 1 to this model's objective control for every 3 models rounding down embarked within it. So if you have this truck and you've got 3 dudes inside, it is now OC3. If you have 6 dudes inside, it is now OC4. All the way up to, if you have a whole 12 models inside, it goes up to OC6, which is interesting. All right, it is definitely interesting, and then you can +1 to get it to OC7. Important thing to note here is this with like Ogren and heavy weapons teams, which take up 2, which is on the heavy weapons teams data sheets, not on the transport data sheets. It does not care like how much space, right? It doesn't say for every 3 models embarked within it. It just says this takes up more space. So 1 Ogren does not equal +1 OC, which is, you know, a bit of a nombo, but is what it is. So a couple interesting things about this, of course, is it has firing deck 12, which means every model embarked within this vehicle will be able to shoot out the firing deck, which is not bad. It does mean that if you move 12, you suddenly have the ability to put like heavy weapons teams. If you put 2 units of like 3 las cannons, that could be like 6 las cannons, which is like okay. So it's like 6 las cannons that move 12 inches and can be hitting on 4s because you're going to +1 ballistic skill them and reroll 1s and grizzled. Like it's starting to be interesting, right? This might be a car where you can just go send it and kill something. The problem is, of course, this is 65 points plus 65 points for the heavy weapon squads, which is 130, and then you add the cost of the car, and let's see, a Torax is 75. Let's assume it's a Torax, right? You know, you add 75 to this, and suddenly we have a whole cost of 205, which is like 205 for 6 las cannons that hit on 4s. It's like, is this really what we want to be spending that many points on? Like, it's Kazarkin and a Chimera. That is a Lehman Russ. That is a lot of the way towards a Rogel Dorn. It's like, it's okay. Yeah, I mean, probably the most interesting thing about this is because it goes 12 inches and you can be like OC6 pretty easily. You can just go like put this on an objective and clear all this. Like if we have an objective here, again, let's just talking about 10th edition. This will change when we get to 11th. And you have like a wall like here. You can go ahead and put like the transport here and be like, this is OC6. Or realistically, like with 10 dudes inside, it's probably going to be like OC5, which is a lot, right? And with the ability to order it to be OC6, if your opponent wants to put like 5 JPI on this objective, they're not flipping that objective. And even if they kill the car that is behind the wall, and you're like, oh no, one of the dudes died falling out, and now I put an additional bunch of dudes on the objective, like this whole thing is going to be really obnoxious to dislodge from a lot of objectives. So that's probably the most interesting way. I would consider taking like one of these. Consider taking one of these in like most meta lists as just a way to lock down your natural and be really, really hard to dislodge from it. I have seen a couple of other things that people have talked about, which I'm going to start with the Krieg heavy weapon squads, which is something that I know Art of War has talked about. And they have unfortunately got a couple of rules wrong on that, so I just want to dispel this immediately. The first one is Krieg heavy weapon squads. You have the 3 heavy weapons teams. So this is 6 transport capacity, right? The problem is you have a friend. They have the fire coordinator. You have 1 fire coordinator equals 1. Add that up. That is 7 transport capacity. So you cannot, in fact, fit 2 Krieg heavy weapon squads in one of these Centaurs. The other big thing that they made a claim that is unfortunately incorrect is their shoot on death. Like if you kill a transport and the guys fall out, you don't actually get to shoot. How did this one get cut off as well? I think I know. Never mind. I know what happened. You cannot actually shoot because, just like we've seen with a bunch of other similar abilities like Hellblasters and Lehman Russ Commanders, they all have the destroyed model can shoot after the attacking model's unit has finished making its attacks. And I know a lot of people who play, especially some of my more casual viewers, were like, oh, each time it's destroyed. Yes, unfortunately, for people who are playing more competitively, if you're trying to play this at a tournament, this phrasing right here has been consistently ruled that it does not work if you died to something that is not an attack. So if you died to a grenade, or you died to an explosion, or you died to getting out of a transport, this does not work because there was no attacking model making attacks. So if you fall out of the transport, you do not get to shoot on death. So overall, like, this transport seems like maybe a one of. I don't think I would take this over a Torox in terms of like sending guys out to be part of mechanized assault. I don't think I would really use this instead of a bunch of other things, a bunch of other transports. The Chimera is still a better probably still a better brawling piece, because it is more durable at toughness 9. It's got the extra wound and it's got actual guns. Whereas this one is like, The firing deck 2 in a Chimera is generally going to be like made up for by the fact that the Chimera just has its own guns. So Centaur, again, this is probably a one of in a lot of competitive lists, but it is cool. I really like the look of it. I'm going to be having 2. I'm going to be buying 2, and then we can go from there. But yeah, overall, Centaur looks cool. It's like, it's okay. It might see a lot more play. There might be something about the way that rules work in 11th edition that makes this data sheet way more interesting. We'll have to see. The next one that they gave us is the cool little new car, and I love this new car. It's okay, but I really like the way it looks. So let's go ahead and get right into it. The Hippogriff AFV, armored fighting vehicle, movement 12, toughness 8, 3 up save, so it's the same durability as a Torox. Yes, it's a Torox. 7 wounds, so it's, really not very durable. Leadership 7, OC2, pretty normal stuff. It is worth noting that this is the same as a transport or a sentinel. It is not the same as most tanks, but we could order it to be OC3 to be the same as most tanks, which is a nice breakpoint to be at. You have a lot of different options for guns. So under ranged weapons, I don't know why I circled that, now I have to erase it. We have the Chiron Gatling Cannon. Is this the same thing? This is on the other car. It is. Does it hit better? The other one hits better. Yeah, that makes sense. So you have 12 attacks on 4s at 501. It does have assault, which is neat. You have a heavy las cannon, which also has assault. 48-inch, 1 attack on 4s at 12, 3, d6 plus 1. I don't know why, as kind of a brief aside, I don't really know why they call things certain things, right? Like this heavy las cannon, I think the only other place that we have a heavy las cannon in the guard is the field runner's battery, which is, I think it's 2 attacks at strength 14, I think. So I don't really know why this las cannon is called the same thing as something else, and the only thing that changed is the fact that it has assault and fewer attacks. I don't know. Brief aside. Don't worry about that too much. You get a stubber, which is cool. It's a stubber, has assault. You get a Melta Cannon. Another thing where, like, the Devil Dog, I think that's what it's called, the Melta version of the Hellhound, also has the Melta Cannon, but this one is Assault, Melta 2, 18-inch range, 2 attacks, and normal Melta stuff. So again, this is a multi-Melta. The Melta Cannon is D3 attacks and blast. I don't know. This just annoys me more than anything else. Moving on. You also have Instead of a heavy stubber, you can choose to take a melta-gun instead. So again, just normal melta-gun stuff. And then you have the Vigilator cannon, which they told us this was, I swear to God, in like the Warcom article, they said that this was the Pulverizer battle cannon, which it's not. This is the Torox battle cannon. Assault, blast, 36 inches, D6 shots on 4s at 812. So, like, the weaponry is okay. The ones that I think are most interesting, of course, the Melta Cannon. This is like maybe interesting, maybe. Um, and like this is like maybe interesting. Your melee weapons, of course, you have your armored hull, which is it's only strength 5. It's not even a cool car melee. Okay, going into the rest of it, we have deadly demise 1, so it doesn't explode for very much, which is fun. Excuse me. And then this. Oh boy, excuse me. I just said McDonald's. The convoy escort vehicle, which I know at least one person in the people that I talked to was very annoyed at the naming of this rule. But in your shooting phase, after this unit has shot, it can make a normal move of up to d6 inches. If it does until the end of the turn, this unit is not eligible to declare a charge. So, you know, one of the big ways that instantly pop out whenever you see this kind of thing, fire and fade, is like, let's say you have a wall over here, right? And then you have bad guy here. And what you want to do is you're going to take a line as narrow as you can, something like this, and you're going to put Centaur here, and you're going to put, oh, and then you can take them in units of 2, so that's fun. And you take second Centaur, again, just barely poking on the line, and you go, pew, pew, bang, 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 haha, and then you roll a 1, and you're like, okay, I'm now no longer on that line. You know, because it's only d6, it's not like super consistent, so you don't want to take super like long angles with this. So that's the first way to think about doing this, and you could take 2 of them, give them both las cannons. That's like okay, like it's a thing you can do. Is it the best thing you can do? Probably not, but you know, depending on how like expensive it is, you know, if you just have 5 turns of 2 las cannons every turn, it's not the worst spend of points. The other one though is of course you have a bad guy over here, and you're like, all right, we're gonna send Centaur 1 and Centaur 2, and they're going to go 12 inches this way, and then they're both going to shoot, and you're going to go bang, and it'll die. And then you're like, okay, now we're going to roll a dice, and all right, now we're going to go take up this space. That's honestly probably the more interesting thing, because it can move and shoot, and if the thing dies, then you can like go in. You can also wait to see if the thing dies or see if you want to do this, because you can still tank shock it for like 2 to 3 mortals, which is not, you know, it's not super exciting, but it is like if you just need to do like 2 damage, it's pretty okay. So this is one of those things where depending on its points, it is mostly going to be anywhere from like really good because it's cheap to not playable because it's too expensive. I think I would expect that at 60 points, this is probably too cheap. You probably play like max of this in like every list you're playing, and I expect that at 85, we probably don't play this at all. It's just too expensive. There are so many other things that we could potentially take with this, and so I'm expecting this to be somewhere between 65 and 75. In terms of where I would expect this to probably be priced. I don't know where it's going to start up being priced. This to me feels very like Tyranid Prime with Lash Whip, where it's probably just going to be too expensive at the beginning, but we'll see. And the big reason why I think this is all kind of true is we have to compare it to like other things that are going to go out and like flip primary for us. So if we look at current cost, we have like 5 Scions plus a command squad. I usually just call this 5+5. And this is 155 points. And you're usually going to rapid ingress them and they're going to go out. And then you have a Kazarkin plus Chimera. And this is 110 plus 85 is 195. Right. So this is kind of like our spot where we need to consider like what it just does in terms of flipping primary. And then the other things I have to look at is like Scout Sentinel is 55, and this sees a decent amount of play. And an Armored Sentinel, I think costs 55, 65, and this just doesn't see play. So this is like this is kind of where I'm expecting it to probably sit for a lot of time. You probably still look at these pretty heavily at 70, but if they are, again, above, if they are like 85 or more, they're like, don't really know if that's going to be making the cut, because this is one of the big tools we're going to be using to go get to objectives and flip them. Um, anyway, it's okay. It's a cool car. I really like the design. I hope this is good, because it's a cute car. I'm gonna sit there and go vroom vroom. Okay. Last one. Sidewalk Commissar Graves. This one is the one that we have to spend the most time talking about, because there are some silly things that we can do with this unit. Okay, first one, Commissar Graves on foot. Girl bossing it on the way. Commissar Graves is a pretty normal looking guard character. Movement 6, toughness 3, 4 up, 5 up invul, so not the best invul in the world. 4 wounds, 6 up leadership, and OC1. So very normal stuff for most guard characters. We have a bolt pistol. It is a normal pistol. We have a power sword and Manus Mortis, which I'm guessing that's the power fist, but I haven't seen that reference anywhere. Manus, isn't that like hand? And then Mortis is like death, so it's like hand of death, I think. Anyway, it is a normal power fist, 622, 5 attacks on 2s. So it's like, it's fine. It is a power fist that exists. That's not really why you take this. We have leader, voice of command, moving up to voice of command. Oh, it's down here. Cool. This officer can issue 1 order to regiment units. It is move, 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 duty and honor, and fix bayonets. Fairly normal. Same thing as what we got in the car. Only 6-inch order range, so it is a thing that exists. Okay. Iron Discipline. This is where we start getting interested in this character. This model's unit is eligible to shoot and declare charge in a turn in which it fell back. That's pretty good. In particular, the things that we are going to be looking at this is the character, in things like recon, the character units that can't normally do this. So one of the big things that we can look at is the Ursa Creed unit. One of the reasons why it doesn't do as much in recon as it does in, or as like a Cadian Castellan unit, is because it does not have the ability to withstand charges at all. Whereas a Castellan unit, you can charge into it, you can kill a bunch of Cadians, or a bunch of Cadians with las guns, and there's like, okay, cool, I'm going to fall back and shoot you with all the plasma guns and melt the guns, which are untouched. Sorry, get wrecked. The Ursa Creed unit can't do that. So the fact that you could potentially attach Commissar Graves gives us that little extra bit. The other part is the Brutal Disciplinarian. Once per phase, at the start of any phase, you can do the same battle shocky thing, which is fun. It's kind of neat. Again, this compare pretty well. So let's imagine like you have this unit, you have Commissar Graves in a unit with Ursa Creed. Ursa Creed's unit like tries to not be battle shocked by ordering duty and honor. They fail the battle shock test. Begin the movement phase. You're like, bang, we're gonna shoot that guy, and now we're not battle shocked. And you drop Gaunt's Ghost next to them and give them new orders. So it's pretty interesting to put this with like an Ursa Creed unit, which does allow you to have it be more combat ready immediately, like much closer to the start of the game. If this was all of the stuff on this data sheet would be, interesting. Like, if this was like a 60 to 70 point character, you'd probably see it quite a bit. If this was an 80 point character or higher, you probably wouldn't see it very often. Depends on, of course, what kind of points we're looking at. But there's one thing in this data sheet which creates a ton of interesting interactions in the game. And that is, under the leader, normally you see all the normal stuff. You see the Cadians, you see the Catachan, you see the Death Corps, Kazarkin, Krieg Engineers, Scions. All of the normal stuff. And then there is one extra thing, and it says Command Squad. Okay. There was a long discussion in my Discord earlier about whether or not you could do some absolutely ludicrous things with this unit. And the most egregious of them, man, I'm so sad this got cut off. I don't care enough to switch to fix it. One of them, I'm gonna draw here. So one of the silly things about this is you have Graves, right? And then you can make it lead a command squad with an Ogryn bodyguard. command squad Ogre Bodyguard. And then you can make this command squad lead, let's say 20 Cadians for the purposes of this video. Okay? Now, one of the interesting things that you might have seen that I'm pretty sure does not work, and I want to let you guys know about how this rules interaction was originally looked at and what changed our mind. So the big thing about this is this unit here is both a leader, because it is leading the Cadians, and a bodyguard, because it is bodyguarding Graves. And the unit toughness characteristic says pick a bodyguard, or you use the highest toughness of any bodyguard model in the unit, which, seeing as the Command Squad Ogre and Bodyguard is now a bodyguard for Graves, theoretically made this whole thing toughness 6. Okay. I don't believe that is true anymore, but I wanted to bring it to your attention and show why I no longer think that is true. However, the reason why I no longer think that is true is this sentence in the leader rules. Each time an attack targets an attached unit, which it is because it has both a leader and a bodyguard, until the attacking unit has resolved all of its attacks, you must use a toughness characteristic of the bodyguard models in that unit, even if a leader in that unit has a different toughness characteristic. Now, I have heard further arguments that this might not matter. However, this is one of those things where gamers, I don't have what I have. Here's a paintbrush. Don't do this without your TO's permission. It's the kind of thing where it's already done. If we could have, it doesn't really matter how many points Commissar Graves is if we can make 20 Cadians toughness 6. That's not fair. It's not healthy for the game. It's not okay. So, this is the big thing that you need to talk to your TO about. This section, because a leader unit with a different toughness characteristic. If the unit can be toughness 6, the game breaks. Okay. The other thing that I want to talk about is, I forgot to put this in the PowerPoint, but every single one of our battle line units and Tempestus Scions has the thing where it can say, you can have 2 leader units. Okay. This means, so going back to the first thing, obviously, if we have 20 dudes, 20 Cadians, we could have Graves, and we could have a CS command squad with Ogre and Bodyguard, and we could attach both of them like this. And that's normal stuff. We can already do that. Can I just erase this? I can. Oh my gosh, I'm so talented. However, I've broached this with a number of different TOs already, and they all seem to be like, yeah, it seems to be how it works. If you attach Graves first to this Command Squad Ogre and Bodyguard unit, and then you have the Command Squad Ogre and Bodyguard unit attached to the Cadians, this appears to be one leader unit. Okay, what that seems to mean is that if we have Ursula Creed, because we're talking about Cadians, we can also attach this as a separate leader to the Cadians. Okay, now let's talk about some weird interactions that arise because of this. So, if we have these 20 Cadians, normally, let's go ahead and talk about the normal version of it first. I'm gonna go here. Can I draw on this? I can't. Dang. So in the normal version, we have 20 Cadians, and then Creed, and then Command Squad, Ogre and Bodyguard. So normally what happens is when this dies, we can start taking, we can start allocating wounds to anything here. And so what you might do is you might start allocating to Creed, because the Ogre and Bodyguard gives this a 4-up Feel No Pain. Okay? Because it is technically still a unit until the end of the activation. However, going back to our silly thing, right, where we had Graves attaching to a Command Squad Ogre and Bodyguard, and we have 20 Cadians, and we attach like this, and then we have, again, let's use Creed as an example, attached like this. Okay. Remember, this unit is both a leader, because it is leading the 20 Cadians, and it is a bodyguard. So, things get really weird after this. Because when the 20 Cadians die, this doesn't all immediately split into different units. Because what you can do is you can take saves on Creed and still use the 4-up Feel No Pain. The problem that arises actually comes when this dies and this is running around on its own, where we have Graves leading a command squad, Ogre and Bodyguard. Okay? And this is still a bodyguard unit. Bodyguard. There we go. Spelling. I'm doing it with a mouse. There's a lot of stuff on here. I'm gonna clean this up for me. Whee! Okay. Going back in. So, because this is a bodyguard, we are still an attached unit. Okay? And because we are attached until this entire unit dies, we are not allowed to allocate to character models. Okay? So, normally what you would do with just the King Command Squad Ogre Bodyguard is you got the 3 schmucks, or the 3 glups. You have the commander. You have the medic. And you have the Ogren. Okay? And normally what you would do is you would either kill the 3 glups, you'd kill the commander in some order, and then you would just have the medic and the Ogren, and then you kill the Ogren in order to leave the medic for last most of the time. Sometimes you could leave the Ogren alive last if it's like Nork or something, depending on, there's more information there. But usually you leave the medic alive last. The problem here is because we are an attached unit. I'm going to pull it up. Leader. The leader. Each time an attack successfully wounds an attached unit, that attack cannot be allocated to a character model in that unit, even if that character model has lost 1 or more wounds or has already had attacks allocated to it this phase. As soon as the last bodyguard model in an attached unit has been destroyed, any attacks made against that unit that have yet to be allocated can then be allocated to character models in that unit. The problem is... Oh man, I keep writing too much. The problem is, if we have Graves and the Command Squad Ogre and Bodyguard, so we can very naturally, we got the 3 dudes, we got the commander, then we got a medic, and then we got the Ogren. Ogren. So this is a character, this is a character, and this is a character. We can kill this, and we can kill this, because we haven't broken any rules. However, we can't allocate to any of these models legally. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and say right now, if you're watching this and you're a rules nerd like me, this is where the game like blue screens. The game goes like, ugh, I did not expect this. What is going on? We are in a weird position. I think you definitely have to kill this. You definitely have to kill this. And then I think what is the most reasonable thing to do is say, because there's nothing else I can allocate to, you can allocate to any of the character models, because otherwise you would not be allowed to allocate to... Otherwise you couldn't allocate to any of them. So because you're not allowed to allocate to anything, you can just kind of allocate to whatever. I don't know. It's very weird. This 100% needs an FAQ immediately. I don't know if it's going to get that FAQ. And again, this whole thing could have been entirely avoided. All of the weird rules interactions could have been avoided if this was not here. So I would expect that either this is an indication that things are changing in 11th edition, or they don't care about 10th edition anymore. Like, the quality assurance has just been Like they aren't paying attention. All the weird rule stuff is coming through. Regardless though, going back to like the useful information. So I've hit you with a lot of like, here's rules mumbo jumbo. The useful thing that if you want to take this unit, if you want to take Commissar Graves, the way that you are probably going to be doing this is again, you are probably going to be attaching this to like either an Ursa Creed brick to give it access to the fallback and shoot, having 2 orders. She doesn't really do a whole lot, but she's got enough like power fist attacks that your opponent goes, maybe I don't want to charge that if it is fallback, shoot, and charge. But you'll probably attach this to like Ursa Creed. You can consider attaching this to Yark. You can consider attaching this in funny ways to the Tempestus Scion brick that Gustavo has been raving about. Apparently, he's going to be giving us a longer manifesto in the next week or so. But I don't really think this makes a ton of sense to put it into like a Kazarkan squad or just a normal unit. You could do it in like a Krieg unit for fun. It's not the most interesting thing in the world, but that's a thing you could do. Yeah. So anyway, just a quick recap of all the new stuff. Commissar Graves in car. Like, this is, I'm going to give it, this is like a 6 out of 10, right? Like, you might see it from time to time. This is fun. The fact that it is 4-up invul, OC5 is, like, interesting. If this is probably, like, 120 is probably about the highest that I would really play this. Moving on to the Centaur RSV. Again, this one, I'm going to give this one, like, a 7 out of 10 in terms of, like, power and, like, how effective I expect it to be in competitive play. I expect that this one, you probably still look at it up to about 85 points, and above 85 is where it's like, just take Chimera instead. It's interesting, but this is going to have way more impact on like your narrative games and your crusades and stuff like that, because the heavy opens team stuff is like, it's fun, but you could just take a Taurox or a Chimera instead. So, it's doing all right. The Hippogriff, I'm going to give this one tentatively a 7.5 out of 10. I think this one is fairly likely to see some play depending on how many points. Again, I think if this is 85 points or less, right? If this ends up being 60 to 80, you will see this in competitive list for sure. And then the last one is Commissar Graves. We'll go here. Commissar Graves, even with like all the weird stuff, I think that this one is probably like an 8.5 out of 10. This one will probably be seeing some play in competitive lists. You don't need to do this, but if you do, it's probably going to be going in like a Creed unit. I think you will probably see, again, this one, if it is like 80 or less, is probably where I would about. Like, if it's like less than 80 points, or like 80 or less, you know what I'm saying. If it's in that range is the kind of thing where you will start seeing this in play. I do want to reiterate, though, that the absolute most bonkers thing we've seen so far is Yarrick. Yarrick is maybe the strongest data sheet that has been released in this edition. Outside of, like, maybe, like, Wraith Lords at the beginning when Dev Wounds would, like, spill and you could Overwatch with, like, Danik and they could see the entire board. Yarrick is absolutely nuts. Yarrick, again, is Phantasm, which was a defining stratagem of Eldar for the first year, maybe first year of the game, whenever the Eldar Codex came out. Before that, it was like one of the most important parts. It is also Challenge Met, which is one of the strongest parts of the Spectacle of Spite. Where at the end of the movement phase, you can be like, I'm going to charge that thing. And then the last thing is it's super Overwatch. You get to Overwatch at the end of the movement phase after seeing all of the other movement that your opponent has done, and you get to pick which one of these do you want to do at the end of the opposing movement phase. Which one ends the game on the spot? Did your opponent play Warhammer well enough at you? No. You win. It is absolutely nuts. Anyway, those are all my thoughts so far. I'm sure I have missed something. There might be something I've said that is incorrect. But I think most of these are like, they are decent, but not game changing. They're not going to significantly change any of the other things. None of these are like really build arounds. You might include one or two of them in some of your upcoming lists, but depending on how many points they are, you're probably doing it because you just really like the models. Anyway, that is all I have to say about all this cool new stuff. I hope you guys have enjoyed this additional rambling about all the new cool things that we're getting. Got a couple events coming up, and unfortunately, none of these. I think the next time I will be able to legally play these at an event is like end of May, which kind of makes me a little bit sad, but that's okay. Uh, for now, again, we have roundtables coming out, or we will rather have roundtables coming out about all the new detachments that we're going to be getting. We're going to be having a lot of stuff coming out. 11th edition is right around the corner. There's going to be a lot of new stuff coming up on the channel because of that. For now, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys all next time. Bye bye.